I have two sisters, Jenny and Jean. They both have English names, so does my mom, Grace. As a kid, I used to wish I had one too. I even made one up for myself, Jonathan. I chose it because it started with a J, which meant it would fit right in with my two sisters' names. I remember how I used to write Jonathan Kojo Yankson on the backs of my notebooks. Of course, it was a phase, and I grew out of it eventually. But I did still wonder why my father never gave me an English name. I later realized it was because, well, he didn't have an English name either, and he obviously wanted me to be just like him. Kojo Yankson, son of Kobna Yankson. You know, Shakespeare's character Juliet asks, what's in a name? Well, as it turns out, there's a great deal in a name. Our parents name us according to what kind of person they want us to be. So Asantes often name their children after a rich uncle, first in the hope that the uncle will be flattered enough to take some financial responsibility for the child, but also in the hope that the child will grow to be as wealthy and successful as the uncle whose name they share. Others often name their children with words that describe positive things like peace, joy, hope, wisdom. And there's an obvious desire for their children to add these character traits as they grow. Parents in the Western world do the same. Baby Gabriel is a little angel. Baby Rose is a delicate flower. Baby Arthur is a future king. And baby Chastity, well, we can only hope. Basically, a name is a label which is meant to describe the contents. There's a popular English expression, it does what it says on the tin. In today's world of uncertainty and unreliability, this expression has come to symbolize the highest level of honesty and dependability with which an object or even a person may be described. So today I want us to think for a moment about our names. Does your name describe your contents? Do you do what it says on your tin? My dear friend, this is something we've probably all taken for granted, but it's actually a serious matter. Once you are given a name, you are given a purpose. Failing to live up to your name means failing to fulfill your purpose. So if your name is Victor, you are supposed to win. If your name is Charity, you're supposed to be kind. If your name is Inshira, you're supposed to be a blessing unto others. What's the point of a person called Mercy who can't forgive? Or a person called Justice who takes bribes? A name is a promise, and a person or thing that doesn't live up to their name is a disappointment to all who encounter them. If you open an account with Fidelity Bank, you expect them to treat you with loyalty and faithfulness. If you go to the African Regent Hotel, you expect to be treated like African royalty. If you go to Lighthouse Chapel, you expect to encounter a beacon of hope. Your name is your purpose. If you don't believe me, just check in the Bible. God changed people's names when he changed their purpose and their destiny. Abram, which means high father, became Abraham, which means father of a multitude. Sarai, which means my princess, became Sarah, mother of nations. Shimon, which means he has heard, became Peter, which means rock. Sometimes the contents change, and so the label must change too. Bombay became Mumbai to correct a 3-century-old mispronunciation that only served to remind its citizens that they were once ruled by strangers. Siam became Thailand, which means land of the free. The Gold Coast became Ghana after independence to divorce ourselves from the reason why we had been exploited for centuries and align ourselves with the proud ancient warrior kingdom of winners from which we were descended. 64 years since the name change. Have we done what it says on our tin? My dear friends, the bottom line is this. A stain remover is supposed to remove stains. So if you invest your money and buy one, spray your clothes with it, and the stains remain, you will feel cheated and disappointed. What good is a key holder that can't hold keys? Or a windscreen wiper that can't wipe your windscreen? What good is a thing that fails to do what it says on the tin? My father deliberately did not give me an English name so that I would be like him. And my father was a great man who defied all odds to climb to the top of his profession. A man whose life was dedicated to the benefit of many and not just the few around him. His name stands for a reputation of honor and integrity, and I've decided that by the time I get to his age, I will have fulfilled the purpose for which he named, or more accurately did not name me. My name is Kojo Yankson, son of Kobna Yankson, and my name is a promise I must work to fulfill every day of my life. Good morning, Ghanafo.
Hello, a very good morning to you and welcome to the AM News. Now, a family of 4 have been burnt to death following a fire outbreak at Manso Apon in the Amansia South district of the Ashanti region. The fire, which destroyed the 8-bedroom house, is said to have happened late Saturday night at about 11 p.m. The victims include Kofi Owusu, his pregnant wife, Esther Kwabena, and their 2 children. The children are believed to be aged 9 and 5 years. The bodies have been deposited at St. Martin's Hospital. 4 others who survived the incident sustained some injuries and are receiving treatments at the same hospital. Amansia South NADMO coordinator Edward Oduro spoke to Love News.
I had a call around 12 o'clock midnight that there is domestic fire outbreak at Manso Apon. So I called the fire service to intervene, and we also did follow up. So we were there this morning, but what we witnessed at the scene was that there were 8 people in the house when the house was burning. So fortunately, 4 of them were able to escape, and the rest, the 4, the husband or the wife and the 2 children, they were all got burnt to death. We also learned that the wife was even pregnant, and she has also burnt to death. So that is what has happened at Manso Apon. The bodies, they have deposited them at St. Martin's Hospital at Kasoa, and the remaining 4, they got injured. So we also send them for treatment at the same place. The husband's name is Kofi Owusu. Is 48. That is the husband who died. And the wife is Esther Kwabena, age 32. And the 2 children, their names are not known yet, but the ages, the older one is 9 and the younger one is 5. Amansia South District. It's a full house containing 8 bedrooms. They said electrical fault.
While in a related development, statistics available at the Bono East Regional Fire Command indicate that the region recorded fewer fire incidents within the first quarter of the year 2021 compared to the same period last year. The reduction, according to the Regional Fire Commander Enim Frimpong, is as a result of an increased door-to-door fire safety education campaign in various communities by personnel of the units. Here's Anas Sabit's report.
45 fire incidents were recorded within the first quarter of the year 2020, with 17 injuries and 36 lives lost in the Bono East region. Within the same period this year, a total of 36 fire incidents were recorded with 0 injury and death. This, according to the Regional Fire Commander DO1 George Enim Frimpong, is a significant improvement in fire-related incidents across the region.
In 2020 first quarter, we had 45 incidents, fire calls, and out of the 45, 17 people got injured and 36 people died out of the 45. Yes, and then the same first quarter accidents that we attended 13 accidents, and then 34 people got injured and 13 people died out of it. That was the first quarter of 2020.
Mr. Enim Frimpong attributed the reduction in the number of cases to the increase in education programs both at home and in the markets by officers of the Fire Command over the period.
The reduction is due to the intensity of our educations to the public. We have to embark on home safety education. And home safety education means we have to get to the homes and then meet the people or interact with the people one-on-one. And by doing one-on-one, they tend to understand us because there is where they can ask questions. And then we explain our mission to them. So I think that has contributed to the reduction of the fire incidents in this year.
The public usually attribute blames to the fire service during fire outbreaks. They allege that the unit either delay or attend to fire scenes without water in their tender. DO1 Frimpong indicated that under no circumstance will the service attend fire scenes without water.
Thank you very much. This is something we have battling with so long a time. They say we go to fire scene without water. Water is our fire service weapon. So there is no way fire service will get to fire scene without water. Then what are we going to do there without water? Even if you want to use fire extinguisher to extinguish fire, fire extinguishers are used at the incipient of fires. That is the initial stages of fires. So we cannot use fire extinguishers in a big fire. So water cannot be ruled out in fire service activities.
The region has so far recorded 3 bushfires, a significant drop of the 2020 figure of 39.
Bushfires, the first quarter, we had 39 bushfires. That was 2020. But this year, because there wasn't enough of the harmattan, so we had only 3. So in terms of bushfire, I think it is okay for this year.
The service conducted a simulation drill to indicate their readiness to deal with fire situations. Reporting for JoyNews, Anas Sabit.
The Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketing Companies Association is strongly kicking against the latest increase in LPG taxes. This comes on the back of the recent passing of the Energy Sector Levies Act 2021. In a statement issued by the association's chairman, he stated that the decline in the LPG industry is as a result of the increases. The association is therefore calling on government to halt the implementation of the new law. Gabriel Kumi, Vice Chairman, LPG Marketing Companies Association of Ghana, explains that the increments may be too much for Ghanaians.
Basically, this is a tax being put on the product, and we believe this is going to further increase the price of the product. And already, Ghana is paying 6.30 cedis per kilo, and this is about the highest in West Africa and even in Africa. So putting 18 pesos more will further aggravate the pricing situation, and this will push a lot of people away from the consumption of LPG.
Now, you call the introduction of the increase as Nicodemus because it was, not suggested in the budget statement. When did this come to your attention?
This came into our attention when the bill was being discussed in Parliament. I think Honorable Atuforsin stood up in Parliament in front of the Speaker before the whole world, and did indicate that even though when the majority leader was presenting the budget, the taxes did not affect the LPG. When the bill was being placed before Parliament, the LPG was slapped with 18 pesos. And I think this is a public knowledge. The videos are circulating around. So based on that, we became a little bit alarmed that already the LPG marketing companies have been calling on government for the past 2 years to consider removing the existing taxes from the product, because we believe that the taxes are pushing up the price of the product too high to the level that the ordinary Ghanaian is no longer able to afford.
Now, as the country grapples with its energy needs, building technology experts are calling for the adoption of green buildings to reduce the country's energy needs. According to the experts, most building designs and materials are not energy friendly and have culminated in people using air conditioners in their rooms and putting the lights on even during the day. Speaking at a conference, board chair of the Ghana Green Building Council called for a revolution to halt the recurrence of the energy crisis in Ghana by adopting green building technologies. Richard Kojanyako has more.
The conference discussed the need for energy-efficient buildings in Ghana. They say the recurrence of the energy crisis in Ghana should teach us valuable lessons to adopt measures aimed at halting what has come to be known in Ghana as doomsday. Head of the Building Technology Department at the Cape Coast Technical University, Dr. Emmanuel Kwamnabanfuaje, shed more light on how Ghana could go green to make considerable gains in the energy sector.
What this project aims to suggest or implement is that we want to educate the clients and Ghanaians as a whole the need to use energy efficient materials in their buildings so that the indoor air quality in their rooms can be more comfortable. At the moment, most of the materials that we use in putting up our buildings, we don't have cross ventilation coming in. So at times we are discomforted in staying in that particular room. And due to the discomfort, we rely heavily on artificial technologies to provide air within the room, like the fan, the air conditioning, and the rest. Even during the day that we might not need lights because of the way we have designed our rooms, always our lights are 24 hours. But when we start implementing the energy efficiency burden, then we'll reduce the cost of our energy consumption by 50%.
Chair of the
Oh, that was Richard Kojanyako's report. Now, you may have left home this morning with a promise to your family to return. Well, for some 771 people who left home between January and March this year, they could not keep that promise. They were killed in motor accidents. That is why JoyNews, together with the National Road Safety Authority, have for over a year now been preaching safety on our roads, and has led to our latest hotline documentary, Crashed, which airs later this evening. Here's producer of the documentary, Seth Kwame Boateng.
When was the last time you heard that a bus carrying X was involved in an accident? They move slowly, they observe all the rules. But when humans are on board, it's a different story. We're going to hear stories of people who have lost their legs through accident, those who have lost relatives through accident, and the pain that some are going through, and how they are living, the difficulty, the trauma, and all those things, and what can be done. We also talk about solutions. That's why we spoke with the Transport Minister, whose ministry the National Road Safety Authority is under, and has been championing road safety. So we're just going to show our listeners about the faces behind the statistics, so that they will appreciate the reality of the issue and attach all the seriousness to it.
All right, Crash is later today. Do make a date. We have lots of conversation around this very important subject later here on the AM show. That's it for the news. Benjamin and myself will bring you the review in a little bit. Stay with us.
Oh, hi there. Welcome to Monday. Another Monday is here. So the weekend was very restful, and you see the effect. It gets you all excited. That's just the way it is. How was your weekend?
Oh, it was fantastic. I think church was good. Yeah.
Okay.
These days.
You're usually talking about church. I'm assuming the pastor. Yeah, give it to us.
It is by grace. It is by grace. I just feel like, you know, when I'm able to do the Sunday service,
right,
there is a boost. I see that there's a difference. There's a tradition in my church, apart from the message that is preached. There's something that you must have on your mind, you know, if you don't remember anything that was said in church, there's something that you carry with you. And I think that's small bits before we rise and leave is special to me.
I think it's in every church, any church worth its salt. And it's something that starts with you all the way from Sunday school. You know, they leave you with a biblical verse or something. For me, this was Divine Mercy Sunday, so the mercy of God, the infinite mercy of God, and how he favors us, overlooks all the, you know, so to speak, very bad things we do, but it also doesn't mean you take that grace for granted. That would be the message I took away. And guess what? I met one of our own in church on Sunday.
Who's that?
George Adu Jr. So we did our things there. It was a Kenya movement.
Yeah, my message on Sunday was the risen Christ. And there was a message preached around Thomas. You know how we say doubting Thomas, how he didn't want to believe immediately that Christ had risen. But you know how we interpret that the negative way. You know, my pastor sort of tried to get a positive message out of that. So essentially, experience Christ so that you can also share that experience. It's not because you've told me about him, but I have also experienced him, you know. So, you know, the prophets, they can give you all the prophecies and they can pray for you and all of that, but take your time and also experience him so that you can also share your testimony and say that this is what Christ has done for me, or this is what I have experienced, so that it's not a hearsay. Get what I mean?
You know, the Thomas bit, I'll just add a little bit to that. I just realized that sometimes when we read about some of these people, we look at it as though it were them, and that's it. We don't internalize it, because if you think of it, a lot of us, in many different ways, different aspects of our lives, act exactly like Thomas. In many ways. Of course, it's not all the time, but we should learn from that example. I just want to add two things very quickly. Today is International Day for Street Children, and I think it's something we ought to at least bring up, highlight. Have you noticed the proliferation of, you know, these street urchins on our roads? They are everywhere. They are, where? Think of Opebia, think of 37, think of, I mean, all over the place, they are all begging. And I was reading this article on myjoyonline.com over the weekend. It's a PhD student, and he's talking about how this is now, it's become a trained thing. They are trained to do it. It's lucrative business. And you see these children, instead of being in school, on the streets. But this day also highlights the fact that a lot of them don't get the right education, access to healthcare, you know, some of these basics that they ought to grow with as children. And it's important that we take a very serious look at that.
Well, on a day like this, I also want to ask the question whether or not these children that we see, many of them these days, are citizens of Ghana. Because we tend to see some foreigners, and they've also tend to be very aggressive in asking for money. You know, it's as if it's, you must, and so if you don't, they keep hitting on your windows, and like you said, they're everywhere. So we have to look at it again. Really, where have they come from?
Just look at the stretch. I'm just thinking from 37 to Max Mart to Opebia to the airport traffic light to the Ghana Standards Authority traffic light to Okpunglo to. Can you see? They are everywhere, at practically every stop.
That's a ceremonial stretch. So, you know, they are parading. But, you know, they are also at Achimota, the overpass, like that whole area. Wherever there is a traffic light that stops vehicles, you find them.
What really do you think we ought to be doing? Because it's not just, yes, barring what citizens they are in our country. What do you think we should be doing as a country? I mean, in other places, social workers and others would take stock of this. And it's important because, guess what? We're talking of the youth getting into many nefarious activities. For some of them, I'm not saying all of them, this is where it starts. For some of them.
You know, the thing though is, I like the whole social welfare angle, but not all of them are homeless or necessarily needy. It's become like a career for the parents who look on, because where I pass, I see the mothers. Sometimes they're actually sleeping, they're taking a nap. And the children are going begging, but these are people who could do some work and protect their children, because it's our responsibility as parents to cater for the children that we give birth to. You know, it's not for a bunch of people who are driving, who seemingly look rich or they have money. For all you know, the last round of that full now, and that car is probably for someone. So it's not every person who's driving. That's for the assumptions.
When they see you, you know, they think
so,
all is well.
Like we say, we've got many laws, and if we were to go back, we will probably find something that can deal with them. But we're just watching.
Children's Social Protection Ministry, Sarah Adwasafo, should take a look at some of these matters. I think it just came to mind. I think the ministry should take a look at it. But today, Magai is in court. Our guy Magai
at 8 a.m.
in court today.
Yeah. This is the Achimota Rastafarian student issue that we're talking about. It's become a human rights matter, and so they're in court this morning. We will definitely give you updates when there are new developments.
Sure. I have the Ghanaian Times, the Finder, the Daily Dispatch, Economy Times, and the Meridian this morning. What do you have?
I'll do the rest. And I'll start with the Daily Graphic newspaper.
You have all the rest.
What I have. So on the front page of the Daily Graphic, you'd find this. National Grid Augmented, Bui Arts 22.25 megawatt solar power. This is good news, but I have to ask, has there been a change in electricity supply to your area? Because that's when this would mean something to you. So what's the situation, Ben? We were talking about Dumso. We've been pretty much talking about it just like every Ghanaian. So has the situation in your place improved?
Well, thankfully, over the weekend, I enjoyed light throughout, and I'm grateful to ECG Gridco and all the parties that they did not snuff out. You know, at the point, there was a bit of fluctuation. I was like, but I didn't turn into an moment. So we thank God.
Okay.
We thank God.
All right.
Did you have power throughout?
Yeah, I did.
Great.
I did. I mean, there was. I told you about the fluctuations. No, this is the low voltage thing.
Yeah.
It happened a few times, so that situation has still not been resolved.
Right.
Digital petroleum monitoring rakes in $1 billion Ghana cedis. They're still on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Book of condolence opens for Evans and Form. That story is on page 20. And it's been opened at the Ringway residence of the late Dr. Emmanuel Evans. Evans and Form, the celebrated Ghanaian surgeon, academic, and statesman, Ghana's oldest medical doctor, who died last Wednesday at the age of 101. We mentioned that briefly here on the show. How many of us are perhaps hearing about him, you know, because he's passed. I pray that we did a lot, you know, something significant when he was alive. We may not know.
To at least
we may not know
with him. You know, done something with him.
Maybe we did not. Maybe somebody else did. I'm just hoping.
How come?
Anyway. Yeah. Outside his professional life, he served the nation by accepting public appointments, which he described in an interview, as the desire to serve the state in another capacity. Other than politics, as it is often described, by serving as the Commissioner of Education and Culture and the Commissioner for Health under the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, led by the late.
Because when I heard Commissioner, immediately I knew it was
them days. All right, stop anti-worker practices. ICU leader tells employees. That story is on page 16, and it's raining heavily in some parts of the Greater Accra region. So if you haven't left home yet, please remember to pack the appropriate tools. An umbrella, something to keep you warm. Children are in school, so make sure you pack something for them as well before they leave. If you happen to be home right now and you're watching the show, it's raining in some parts of the capital. So the Deputy General Secretary in charge of operations of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Mr. Morgan Ayawene, has called on the employers who indulge in what he described as antisocial practices against their workers to desist from those practices. He mentioned some of the antisocial practices as labor outsourcing, which negatively affects the income and livelihood of workers, casualization and contractualization of labor. These are huge terms. You can read on. It's a very good call. I don't know how much of a change it would affect, though. On the back page, Legon City's humble Olympics. Kotoko defeat Chelsea to claim top position. These are the top stories, or the sports stories, on the back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper.
So I guess Oligbobo became
Oh, Charlie.
over the weekend. Legon City's totally against the run of play.
This is one of those.
Punishing them.
issues of your enemy's enemy is your friend. So Legon cities are friends.
I see. Right. So let's quickly get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. 70% of roads nationwide bad due to lack of maintenance culture. Only 4% of road sector investment used to repair existing roads. I did that bit on the Accra-Tema stretch about the tolls and how much we collect every year. But especially on a day like this, when we're talking about the number of people who die on our roads, the number of accidents, and this year has been a particularly bad one in this first quarter. It's relevant that we focus on our roads as well. And the Director of Planning at the Ghana Highway Authority, Mr. Sichofa David Addo, has called on government to ensure a balance between constructing new roads and maintaining existing ones in the country. According to him, it was worrying that 96% of road investment was used to build new roads and only 4% was used to maintain existing ones. As a result of the poor road maintenance culture, he explained that the country's score of good roads, which stood at 57% in 2015, has currently dropped to, get this, 30%. And he says, I quote him, as a country, we are aggressive to build new roads and have left existing ones unattended to. And this situation is causing the deterioration of many of our existing pavements, which is giving us lots of bad roads in the country. So, Mr. Sector Minister, and all those involved in terms of our roads, the Department of Feeder Roads, the engineers and experts, and the Ghana Highway Authority itself, these are critical matters to be looked at, Mama, especially as the accidents continue on our roads. Very, very topical matter. In other stories, reducing leakages in fuel value chain. SML saves Ghana $1 billion in 10 months. Decommissioning of landfill. Government impressed with work done so far. That's according to the Sanitation Minister. When I hear of sanitation matters and water resource matters, there's something that happens to me. But today I'll not go off that tangent. President joins world leaders to mourn Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. How many times was he in Ghana anyway? Was it 3?
I
don't know. Ghana quite
I just remember the Nkrumah picture with the Queen.
He's been in the country a number of times. And interestingly, we were talking about that, and then DMX also gave us something more to mourn about. Did you ever listen to any DMX?
Yeah, I think
in Zion College, were you listening to DMX?
Oh, you're mean.
Darkman X, Dogmaster X.
Not in school. Not in school. Were you listening to him when you were in Biheko?
Oh, yes, we were. I mean, you know, he peaked in the 90s, 97 to 99, thereabout. That's when, I think it's in 98, 99, he came out with his first album, It's Dark and Hell is Hot. Then there was the next one, X, and no,
I wasn't into him then. I wasn't
DMX.
into him.
So if you have, it's like a generation growing up with the music, and at 50 for him to be gone like that, looking at the circumstances. Opon Nkrumah says in the middle page, and I'll be done shortly, we're being tactful when it comes to the broadcasting bill. According to him, government is taking input from technocrats and industry experts, and at the same time being tactful in the passage of the bill so as not to create a situation where it becomes a tool for successive governments to use in stifling media freedom and freedom of speech. Masere Katra. On the back page, Legon cities halt Oli's run. But, Mama, on the back page of the Daily Graphic, did you see which team was on top of the league?
No, I did
currently?
not. Apart from what I read, I don't remember anything else.
Let me see. I think it's Asante Kotoko.
Okay.
We have 36 points, and Great Olympics has 33, Karela 32. In fact, the headline says, and I'm showing it so you don't think I'm manufacturing it, Kotoko win, Hearts lose. So we beat Brekum Chelsea by 2-0. But it was unfortunate because Accra Hearts of old lost to Ash Gold. Mama, do you have any comments?
The Daily Guide newspaper is the next paper that I will look at. There's a banner headline which says, Kufuor's blast NPP girl over lies. Now, this was on a radio program where we are told that the former president actually phoned in into the program to correct some impressions that a certain, and I would go to the details of it in a bit. So a certain lady, Esther Nanajiman, a supposed member of the New Patriotic Party, and that's how the paper puts it. So this had to do with And I think the former president said it when he was speaking on the show, that there were lies that the lady was telling to
I mean, if it got him to call, then it must have been, it must have rubbed him.
Suggesting that he roped in his junior brother, Kasoa, into his administration, not based on his competence. So, you know, something rocking the boat a bit. And the former president, you know, even suggested to the show host that a thing like that should not have even come on air, should have been cross-checked, verified before being allowed on air. So details of that, if you're interested. Pone landfill shut down on course. This is a story that I'm interested in because, you know, and it's Zoom Lion that picks my refuse, and it's been for a while now. The agreements is they pick once a week, but you'd realize that in 2 weeks they will come once in 2 weeks, sometimes in 3 weeks. And I've seen that some of my neighbors have also been complaining. The painful bit though is that when the bin is full, they complain when you have to put it in a sack, because sometimes when the bin itself is full, you have to find a way of presenting the rest of it, and they are always complaining. But they don't pick it
for a fortnight or 3 weeks. What do you expect?
That's the next fight that I'll pick with them. You know, last week when the guys came, I tolerated them. Oh well, it's only because of my friend. That's why I usually don't talk about it. But when they start to fight me, I'll fight them, because if the agreement is you pick it once a week, you must. And if you don't, and I have extra, which is not necessarily sitting in the bin, you can't blame me for that. I'm sure if we're to open the phone lines, we'll have some of our viewers complain about the same issue.
But one of my biggest concerns with those situations, I don't recall how many years back, but there was a situation where they were not picking rubbish for a while, and it creates a lot of health hazards as well.
Yeah,
when you have rubbish, and mosquitoes will breed, other things, we are susceptible. We have COVID, it's enough. We don't need more than that.
So, Robert Coleman, the reason I'm not saying all of it here on the show this morning.
Coleman, what do you call it? Is it?
One constituency, one turf.
AstroTurf.
Yes, sir. Okay. He's a friend to the business. So when I say to the business, I'm talking about Zoom Lion, so I'm not going to go any further. High alert, because he resolves my issues.
Let me take you on. Wait, you're refusing to bash something because of...
Okay, so wait, let me be fair. Let me be fair. There are times that I've had real issues with them and he's resolved it. So I think it's appropriate that if I have issues now, I should forward it, and if it's not resolved, then I can come. If he doesn't resolve
this one, Mama, talk to me.
Of course.
I'll do something.
I will, Pa. But the story really about the landfill site that's been shut down, it says with about 7 months to complete the decommissioning and re-engineering works at the Pone landfill site in Accra. The Minister of Sanitation, Water Resources, Mrs. Cecilia Bida-Dapah, has said she's impressed with the progress of work so far. But there seemed to be another situation. There must be a reason why my refuse is not being picked up once a week. So we'll get into that. I'll see how many of our viewers are also suffering from that same issues. Kasoa teen killers wanted pocket no dry charm. So there are many things that are coming out after the arrest of the priestess. Oh, you say something before priestess. You wanted me to qualify it properly.
Fetish?
Fetish, priestess, yeah. And that's one of the angles in the paper today. So you can check it out, details of it. Just before I wrap up, on page 8, the News 1 Entertainment, Rosalyn Okoro, who's Yvonne Okoro. Yvonne Okoro is the popular actress. Her kid sister got married over the weekend.
Well, congratulations to her.
It was all over social media. So.
Have you seen the one with Tonto Deke?
The number
Dr. UN of...
the number plate,
we thought it was only Ghana. I said it was trending in Nigeria as well.
But she did well, because she herself came out, to say that, after she boldly received the award, she did some investigations and she realized.
But it's interesting how they smile. The people who deliver these awards, it's almost as though, hey, we'll share on.
Hey!
But you know, the thing is that what has she done to deserve that? Like, even the category,
I hear she does very well when it comes to these humanitarian stuff. And so that was what was, you know, they count it in such a way, they focus on something you're actually doing. So you feel, oh, like, Sako dear, oh yeah, this and that, before you realize,
so wait, we don't Google, like, we don't go to the UN site to cross-check anything.
I think it took the country representative of the United Nations or one of them to come out and say that all these bodies doing that, they are not, you know, kosher. The final newspaper now, just a few interesting headlines that I'll take. NEC set to take, and I'm talking about the MPP, tough stance on scramble for 2024 flag bearer slot. That's according to John Boedu. And this one, Ghanaians willing to pay taxes but worried about usage, is from the Afro Barometer. We were talking about that yesterday, Mamavi. And then, stop chasing extreme returns. 10% monthly interest is unsustainable. You risk losing all your investment. That is according to Dr. Agloya. And that's one of the things I want to highlight. He's saying, look, if they are promising you more than 10% every month or 10%, look at it again, because you're likely to lose all your investments. Are you going to do other papers? I'll just do headlines.
Okay, so the Republic Press, there's 3 stories of interest. The banner headline, Bagman on bragging spree, is how the paper puts it. Says Parliament will not check responsibilities under his watch. I don't know how that constitutes bragging, though. This story, this story in our news, though, horror in Ashanti region, pregnant mother kid's husband burned to death in fire accident. Details of that story suggest that there was some kind of electrical fault, but I hope that the investigator will have an open mind and not come from that angle of an electrical fault necessarily, but do a thorough investigation. 2 arrested for possessing human bones and skull. David Owate Okra, a driver, 22, and Nicholas Amanuvo, 20. They've been arrested by the Kota police for possessing bones and skulls suspected to be human remains, according to Police Sergeant Francis Gomado, Public Relations Officer of the Eastern Regional Police Command. The suspects were arrested, and upon interrogation, they alleged that they were sent by one Joker, who is in a place near Suhom, to deliver the bones to a fetish priest. And they give the names and the rest of the story here. So it sounded more like what was alleged to have happened in Kasoa recently.
Mama V, what was that name again?
Which one is that?
Gomado? Hey! Hey! Gomado, and I did Gomado.
Is that what I said?
All right, so my final headline, Northerners will know their true status in NPP in 2024. Benefson is saying that. Grab a copy of the paper, turn to the back page, and you'll find the details there. But let's quickly do this birthday. Obatampa. Can you just, anyway, so...
Is it Obatampa's birthday?
No, it is not Obatampa's birthday. Okay. I was just prompting her to do something for me. But today is the birthday of my first son, Nathaniel Ni Sasa Ama Jr. of Papti School Complex, GHS1 at Santa Maria. We wish him a glorious birthday and God bless him beyond measure. My son, Nathaniel Ni Sasa Ama Jr., grow to become an asset to Ghana, the family, and the entire world, in Jesus' name. Amen. From your father, Ebenezer Ni Ama of NSIA Insurance, and our very own Eko Sam, Derek, yes, Derek of Joy News. Happy birthday to Araba Kumsen as well, our very own Araba Kumsen. Rabs, happy birthday to you.
I've got a special one just before we make way for sports. The MC for Wage Agbawe Municipal Assembly, Patrick Kumo, is wishing his beautiful wife, Mrs. Esther Kumo, a happy birthday today. We're celebrating you, Mrs. Esther Kumo, as you celebrate your birthday today. Please enjoy your day and have a beautiful one. Stay with us. We've got plenty of sports updates, things that happened over the weekend, coming up right after this.
But from boxing, Let's do Ghana Premier League. Asante Kotoko have moved to the summit of the league table on 34 points after Great Olympics and Kerala United left Legon Cities and Interlice in their respective Week 19 games. Hearts of Oak also lost to Ash Gold by a goal to nil. We'll go for the highlights of these matches.
Steven Amankona, and game is underway here in Obuasi. Habib, he gives up possession. Here is Chelsea. Can they break the deadlock? Abalora to the rescue of Kotoko.
That is great defending as well as brave partner. Onto your right, the fullback.
Flag stays down. This is a Chelsea opportunity. Good save, Abalora. Brilliant display from the boot of it. Here is Modesiru. Long searching pass. Okran is the target. Yes, he gets it. Sends across. Would this be the first goal? Yes, it is. Asante Kotoko up by 1 goal to nil here at the Obuasi Stadium.
Always been finding joy in sending in crosses between Imoro and Okran. Okran this time putting it on the blade. That to get past Frimpong. That change of pace, that is what is beating Frimpong. He cannot get close to him. And he's striding in an attempt to get past this man. It's not deliberate. He's not strong.
And Ponsas the third. Oh my goodness! He fluffs it. Now here is Augustine Okran. Okran goes down in the box. Another penalty.
There you see the pace of Okran, always beating this man. The tackle comes in, gets nowhere near the ball, brings his man down, save.
Can he score a second? And that's it. It's 2-0 for Asante Kotoko. Godfrey Esiama.
Fabio Gama. He picks up the ball, finds Godfrey Esiama. Always looking for the pockets of space to pick. Esiama returns the pass, but look at the through ball. Brilliant through ball. The weight of the pass is good. Goes past the goalkeeper, has an end.
Okran racing deep into enemy territory. That's poor from Okran.
You saw the penalty awarded to Ash Gold to win them the match, and that of Bekum Chelsea, where they missed. Head coaches of Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko, Samuel Bodu and Marino Barreto, censured the referees for what they described as poor officiating in the two matches.
Yeah, this is football. Sometimes it's unpredictable, and you could see the penalty that he took against us. But I wonder why we got a second penalty and that from there. Then he disallowed, but I don't know why he took that decision. And we have lost this match. It's quite unfortunate that we have lost this match, but we are going home to plan well against Interlice or whichever come to our side. We'll make sure that we take the 3 points.
It starts with the penalty. Here there are no VAR, so it's a decision of the referee. Referee is the VAR and the referee. He takes the decision, but they didn't make the goal. For me, what is surprise, there was 2 penalties there. I don't have the VAR, but our players get the fouls. I have 2 players injured. I told you Wednesday we need more time. Maybe in next 6 weeks we will be able to play as I want my team play. Because I bring one idea of the game, respecting the idea of the game in the Ghanaian league. I think everybody saw that my team are playing a little bit different was playing before, but they have to make more. They have to press all the game, and we will do it. But this took time. This week we played too much in 7 days. The other team have lot.
Hooliganism has been a major canker in Ghana football since time immemorial. In recent times, referees are attacked for what football fans describe as deliberate manipulation of match outcomes. The Ghana FA has been flagged by the media for what they say the football governing body is doing nothing to curb the menace. GFA President Kurt Okreku insists he is not the Inspector General of Police and expects the police to act by arresting these perpetrators.
We cannot control the mindset of every individual in the world. Most importantly, every individual who wakes up in the morning goes to our match centers to consume our domestic football. For which reason, you must always make that room available that somebody would misbehave. And when it is that people misbehave, people must be educated and must be made to go through the laid down processes within the football ecosystem, i.e. in seeking redress. I sit here and I wholeheartedly condemn hooliganism that has been noticed or that has happened in some of the league centers. Yes. In some of the league centers, we realize that punishment alone is not enough to eradicate hooliganism. Yes. It's important that we re-preach the gospel of respecting the rules and regulations of the sport.
Nobody has been prosecuted.
First of all, you expect. Yes. I'm not the IGP. Yes. Sorry, I'm not the police commander. Yes. Of course, I'm not the IGP. His officers are on the ground. And what we can do is to continuously remind them about the need for them to help the football system. Yes. 1 week ago, the police were attacked by supporters. Techiman City against Tamale City. I expect the police service to act.
And talking of the GFA president, they are currently engaging the Ministry of Youth and Sport on the management of national teams. We understand that the GFA says the content of national teams belongs to them. Following their meeting with the Minister of Youth and Sports, the GFA president said he will fight with his life to ensure that the content of Ghana football does not go into the pockets of another institution, and that they now want to manage national teams independently from the Ministry of Youth and Sport and the National Sports Authority. Clearly, he has also made it clear to the Minister of Youth and Sports that they will be dissolving the committees that manages national teams. That means that they want to restructure how national teams are managed. Another interesting story that has been with us since March 11 is that the Justice of Accra High Court, clearly, Comfort Tesiami, on March 11, discharged Kwesi Nyantakyi and Abdullahi Alassane following the number 12 expose. She says justice delayed is justice denied after the Attorney General had failed to get a witness to sign their witness statements. She says justice is two-way traffic. She has asked that if the Attorney General is ready, they can come back. However, the Attorney General has decided to take the case to Accra High Court 2, that's the Criminal Court 2 instead, and want the case to be heard all over again. And this is being argued by the lawyers of Kwesi Nyantakyi. The full hearing will happen on April 30. We'll have more stories to share with you in our subsequent bulletins. I am Muftau Nabila Abdullahi, and this has been the AM Sports on the AM Show.
And we've been sharing these stories with you all week last week. The documentary airs later this evening. Now, there's an upward trend in road traffic fatalities with a rise from 1,823 in 2017 to 2,589 last year. In fact, an average of 318 persons die every year between 6 to 8 p.m. as a result of road accident. This is about 16% of the total number of fatalities recorded every year, and it's higher than the number of deaths recorded in any 2-hour period with respect to road traffic fatalities. Now, there's a chart that we will show to you in a little bit with regards the kind of numbers that we record hourly, and these are human lives that are taken every day on our roads. A documentary titled Crash airs this evening. Now, ahead of that, we want to have a conversation. My guest, Dr. Frederick Kwating, is head of Accident Emergency and Orthopedic Center at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. He will join us with his thought and experience. Also, Parliament's Roads and Transport Committee Chairperson, Kennedy Nyako Osei, he's also a member of Parliament for Akim Swade Road constituency in the Eastern Region, is with us, as well as Member of Parliament for Adaklu. He is ranking member on the Transport Committee of Parliament. Mr. Kwame Agboja is also with us on this issue. Gentlemen, I want to say good morning and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Agboja, can you unmute so we can hear you, if you can hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Great. Well, good morning to you both. Thank you so much for making time to speak on this very important subject. You're in Parliament, so just your initial thoughts. What do you make of all these statistics representing human lives that we lose every year, and the fact that you could do something about it because you make laws? And I'll start with you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, good morning, and I just want to say thank you for having me on your show. Well, I think road safety issues have become very critical, and as a country, we have to do everything possible to make sure that we minimize the carnage on our road. As Parliament, we, like you rightly said, we make the laws. If you look at earlier on, you see the mandate that was given to the Road Safety Commission. I mean, they were not having enough teeth to bite, okay? So their mandate was very limited, and they didn't have the powers to even sanction the road standard, road safety standards in the country. They were just to, let's say, promote. But this government, since it took over, realized that if we want to take road safety issues seriously in the country, then we have to enhance the powers of, let's say, the mandate of the Road Safety Commission. And by doing so, it means we have to, let's say, repeal or let's say amend the laws and give them extra powers, extra mandate, enhance their mandate so that they become an authority who have powers to even sanction people that will flout. So that's how come we're able to pass the new National Road Safety Act, the Act 993, which now has expanded the scope and the mandate of the Road Safety Authority to allow them to, let's say, come out with more programs, policies, regulate them, and sanction people who would go against this law. So I think for we Parliament, we have done our bit. We expect the Road Safety Commission to also, as the implementers of the law that we have passed, to also ensure that they enforce those laws. But you know, after the law was passed and was assented to somewhere, they were supposed to bring an LI, a legislative instrument, which, covers the regulation, the actual regulations of for the implementation of the act. It has not come yet because they have to do a lot of consultation, stakeholder consultation. We are talking about road safety matters, and it covers a lot of, because you see a lot of people, virtually everybody uses the road, if not pedestrian or maybe a driver plying the route and all those things. So you need to do a lot of extensive stakeholder consultation to be able to, we have been able to, the last time that I checked, I've realized that they've been able to put all the regulations together. They were bringing it to Parliament, but they have to, because Parliament was rising so early, they are going to bring it as soon as we go back. So I think on our part, we are doing all our best to ensure that we are able to assist the road safety, National Road Safety Authority to also execute their mandate.
The honorable member has actually packed. So if you're just watching and you see that he's in a seatbelt and he's sitting in the vehicle is not a moving vehicle. He's packed and he's having this conversation with us. Just so we clear that.
I've packed. Yes, I've packed.
Yes, sure, I know that. Mr. Kwame Agboja, have you truly done enough? Have you committed to this fight as members of Parliament with the opportunity to make laws that could help? Please unmute so we can hear you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mamavi. First of all, I want to thank Kwame and the team that put this documentary together, and also to thank your network for constantly drawing attention of the country to this issue. Have we done our best as a country? No, I disagree with my chairman that we have done our best. What we did actually was to, just as the whole country gets traumatized when we see these horrific accidents happen, we've been asking for ways we can review this. And what we have done effectively is to review the legislation that established the National Road Safety Commission then, and to make them an authority, with the hope that we can give them more leverage to be able to deal with this. Largely what they do is education and helping with the MTTD for enforcement. Yes, we did the act. I agree with my chairman when he says that we are supposed to, the National Road Safety Authority is to come to Parliament with the legislation in terms of allies to be able to operationalize specific parts of this law. But Mamavi, it doesn't need the ally for us to resource the National Road Safety Authority as it is now to operationalize issues of education and other things. And why? Because government is failing to provide adequate resources in terms of money for them to recruit the requisite number of people, and also to establish the offices that they said we're going to establish in all districts. So if they are unable to do their work right now, it cannot entirely be the issue of, waiting for the legislation. It's simply because government is failing to fund them. You heard me in Parliament when government wanted to impose new taxes by putting additional taxes on petroleum products. I argued that you're taking money from drivers. One of the best ways you can use this is to use it in ways that can reduce carnage on our road. So use 5% of that money and support National Road Safety Authority so that they can do this where the government threw it out. So no matter what the law says, if government is unable to support National Road Safety Authority to do the recruitment of the requisite number of people, retrain their own people, and have the ability to establish the offices across the country to carry out education, we are not going to be able to do this. In that sense, Parliament have done their part, but the government has woefully failed to carry out their part.
Stay with me, gentlemen. Let me bring into this conversation a man who witnesses... Honorable, I'll come to you. Let me just get my other guests to share some few thoughts. Dr. Frederick Kwating heads the Accident Emergency Orthopedic Department at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. It's actually one of the leading centers that provides care to accident cases here in our country and sometimes West Africa. So I want to welcome you, Doc, to this conversation. Thank you for your time, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I am so grateful. Can you share some of the experiences? You receive patients on a daily basis. So how bad is this situation that we're talking about?
Yes, thank you very much. And I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Yes, yes. As you rightly said, it is the biggest referral center when it comes to trauma, orthopedic, and accident cases. We receive an average of 10 accident victims, especially those needing admissions on the day. In every day, we have an average of 10, and in most cases, we have about 3-4 of them being Okada injuries, and then the remaining 60 vehicle accidents. And a significant number of them are bad injuries, very serious ones that may have to be in the hospital for about 3 or 4 weeks. And in some cases, especially the Okada injuries, the injuries are that bad that to save the patient's life, we may have to actually even amputate their limbs, because sometimes they come in with limbs that have been beyond service. You see, the cases are of various types. You have some that are brought in with head injuries, some that are brought in with multiple injuries, some that a number of them have broken limbs. And we have a fairly good system in place that takes care of them with a significant amount of facets. But it is a big source of worry, the number of cases that we see on a daily basis at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. And so, especially for the Okada injuries, we continue to advocate that the law enforcement agencies strengthen their supervision on the road.
Dr. Kwate, well, thankfully I have 2 members of parliament who are on the transport committee with us on this conversation. So just stay with me a while longer. I want to do some follow-ups in terms of recoveries. Hello, Doc?
Yes.
Okay, Doc.
Yes, yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Just continue to stay with me, sir. And I want to go to the chairman of the transport committee, because I know that after Mr. Kwame Agboja spoke, you wanted to say something, Mr. Nyakose.
I just wanted to respond to 2 issues that my colleague has raised. With regard to the regulation, he's aware. I mean, when you enact a law, it is a regulation that gives you details, the operational details of how to carry out the very law that you have passed. So, yes, the law has been enacted, we pass it, but the regulation that is going to give you details is yet to be laid in Parliament. So when you say that it's because it doesn't matter, I'm surprised that my colleague is making that assessment, and that has been so I just want to correct the impression that he just created. He also raised an issue in relation to funding. Yes, I agree with him that National Road Safety Authority need more resources, but he can also attest that it's under this government that National Road Safety Authority have been given enough, have been resourced enough. They are running one of the most successful campaign, road safety campaign, that is the Arrive Alive campaign. I mean, if they don't have money, how are they doing it? It is government that are giving that kind of money, but we all agree that the money is not enough. They were commissioned. Now they are an authority. We have expanded their scope or their mandate. So it means we need to give them more resources. Yes, we have made an appeal, or we've made a recommendation when we're doing our budget that government should look at it and if we can even take 5 pesos out of that 30 pesos petroleum tax that is, they have introduced, and give it to the road, because if you take that money and we give it to the road safety will now have some enough resources to be able to execute what they have fine program that they want to introduce. Okay, and road safety will not also they work with other agencies like the MMTD. They have to even resource the police. Now they have to even apply, use technology in, let's say, providing road safety standards or activities on our roads and all those things. But if they don't have the money, it becomes so difficult. So I agree with my ranking when he talks about government should make adequate resources for, yes, but he should also admit that it's under this government that we've been able to resource the authority so much that they have been able to successfully run of the most successful road safety campaign as we speak now. But it is not enough. There's more room for improvement, and I think I will agree with him. We can go on. And he also mentioned of having offices across the country. Yes, it's good, because once you have become an authority, we need to have offices in the other regions, which with my discussion with the head of the road safety authority, they are on it to recruit and set up offices across the various regions. Where they don't have offices, to be able to ensure that they are able to enforce those laws that they are. The enforcement is the most important thing here now. The enforcement, the key word is the enforcement. How they are going to enforce and punish people who flout those. And I'm happy if you look at the new act. There are so many. We have given them so many powers to be able to bite, and I think we need to support the National Road Safety Authority to be able to execute all their plans and mandates. So I think that is the reaction that I'll make for now. If there are other opportunity that I can speak to, I'll do a follow-up on that.
Great. Hang in there for me. I know that Mr. Agboja, you would want to come in, but I want to get Dr. Kwating's thought, and I want to wrap up with him so he can leave us and we can have the rest of the conversation. Dr. Kwating, you've painted a picture of how you receive these accident cases in your department. Yes. Can you share with us how they recover and how they eventually leave your center? Do they all leave?
Yes. About 90% of them leave the center having received good treatment. Even though of them have various degrees of incapacitation occasioned by the accident. The department has put in place a good system to take good care of them. And we have good surgeons also to manage these cases. The truth is that a number of them come in with very bad injuries. As I said, some of them come in with multiple injuries. They badly fractured every part of the body. And that calls for a lot of resources. It will also interest you to know that a number of them have economic challenges. They consume most of their finances on clinical care, buying drugs, conducting all sorts of investigations.
So, Dr. Kwating, I have 2 members of parliament with us. They've been talking about the law as it exists.
But by and large, we have a good success rate.
Hello, Dr. Kwating. Hello, Dr. Kwating.
Yes, my dear.
Okay. Dr. Kwating, I was just going to say, what would you say to the lawmakers? I have 2 of them with us. They are really important because they sit on the transport committee. From where you sit...
Yes. I've always been saying that a greater portion of road traffic accidents are products of recklessness, especially those who drive the motorcycle. That a lot of them, there are laws that have been enacted, but it is the enforcement. See, the enforcement of these laws by the security agencies. That is what will bring down a number of these motor vehicle accidents. And I will request that the police in particular should strengthen their supervision over the motorcycles who apply the streets and the roads of Accra for commercial purposes. And then also on the highways, there should be mechanisms to enforce drivers who drive strictly according to the road safety rules, because a number of them are products of recklessness, and that will be my request for now.
Okay. Just before you go, though, the 10 cases that you receive every day, are you able to adequately deal with them? Are these too many cases for you to handle as a center?
No, we have enough manpower to contain all these cases, and as much as possible, each of them is given good care. Just that sometimes we are overwhelmed, and then sometimes the number outstrips the number of players that we have. But by and large, each of them is given good care, and I must say that a lot of congratulations need to go to the staff at both the emergency and the orthopedic department, because we put in place a system that provides good care for each of the patients.
But in those few cases, when you don't have enough beds, what happens?
As much as possible, we try not to turn away any accident victim. Even if there are no deaths, as much as possible, all accident victims are given care. It is true that sometimes, by the time the patients are brought, the emergency might be full, but we don't turn them away. We try and create beds where there are no beds for them. So what I'm trying to tell you is there are cases in situations where we are overwhelmed by the numbers, but in all such cases, we are able to contain them.
Dr. Frederick Kwating, we will leave it here and have more conversations after we air this latest documentary, Crash. But I'm very grateful that you could join us. And congratulations to yourself and your team for a good job. Under the circumstances, you worked really hard. I'm grateful to you. Mr. Kwame Agboja, Dr. Kwating has raised a very important issue with the motorbikes and enforcement. But I also want to ask you, with the statistics that we're hearing, would you say that we've gotten to this point where the issue of accident has become a public emergency?
Well, Mama V, as a matter of fact, the carnage on our roads takes a toll on.
Okay, so I see that our conversation has just been a little bit disrupted. Hopefully, Mr. Kwame Agboja will be able to
across
rejoin.
the country, including those in Adaklu who will be working hard to save.
Hello, Mr. Agboja.
Save lives today, and who have always been doing that. May God.
Okay, unfortunately, I think we're having some disruptions. We're going to correct that and raise him back. Seth Kwame Boateng is the producer of this documentary. He also joins us. Seth Kwame Boateng, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mama V, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So you've brought back, in fact, we've been talking about road safety for the past year, but we're crowning it at this period with Crashed. And so thank you for, giving us something that brings home the issue that we're talking about. When people look at the visuals that we put out, people can't believe it. It's unbelievable. When you speak to the some of the persons who've been punished at this, because they've been involved in road accidents through one careless act or the other, people are now beginning to appreciate the heaviness of this matter that we're talking about. What are you hoping that we'll be able to achieve after this documentary is aired later this evening?
Thanks, Mavi. So as a producer of this documentary, I can tell you that it has really, really changed my style of driving. I'm telling you. Now I'm more careful. Now, where I have to do 50 kilometers per hour, I obey. Where I have to do 30, I obey. Because you may be careful, but the other person may not be so careful and will put you in trouble. Most of the accidents, that's how they happened. So I'm hoping that these images will appeal to the conscience of Ghanaians, especially drivers, so that when they are on the road, they'll be careful. These images would also inform our policymakers how serious the situation has become, and how, from my point of view, it must be declared as a public health crisis, as a national security emergency, so that all the interventions that could be activated or all the interventions that go with emergency situations would be activated and the problem dealt with. Because last night I was telling somebody that 771 lives that we have lost in the first quarter of this month, when they were leaving home, they told their families, see you listening, hoping they will come back. They didn't come back. If you look at the figures, we are losing approximately 8.5 lives every day. Let's round this up off. It's like we are losing 9 lives every day. So you are not safe, I'm not safe. You left home, you told your children, see you this evening. How sure are you that you're going to go home tonight? That's why we must all be concerned. Yesterday, at Suhum, some people were coming from Kumasi to Accra. They got Suhum, they got crushed. 5 of them died. 5 of them. They told their families, I will see you. They didn't get to them. So I want all of us to have a conversation, to sit down and really think through that these are preventable accidents. We can prevent. So why are we not doing that? Enforcement. Can our authorities see this documentary and activate all the enforcement measures that must be put in place? Not must be put in place, they're already there. But can they really resource the people, our security personnel, to work? Get them to be on the street and save lives. Can we use our conscience when we're on the roads? That's what I really want Ghanaians to take from this documentary.
Or closely be watching it. Let me come back to you, Mr. Agboja, and hopefully the connection is better this time around. I had asked if this situation had got into a public health emergency status, and you're trying to answer that. We didn't quite get you. Kindly unmute for me, sir. Okay, it looks like our network has become a public health emergency as well, and that connection is gone. Mr. Nyakwose, if you can hear me, if you're still with me, can you address this matter of, we've seen legislation, we've seen executive instruments come up rather very quickly to deal with COVID-19. Why haven't we seen that same efforts? If it is resources that we talk about, if it's enforcement that we talk about, why haven't we seen the same kind of force being pushed behind this one that has claimed a lot more lives than COVID-19?
Maybe I would disagree with you that it has not been issues of national road safety have not been prioritized. If it hasn't, this government wouldn't have gone further to let's say, enhance the mandate or come in with a new act which gives more power to the National Road Safety Authority to be able to carry out their duty. So that is one. Yes, I agree with you that it has become a national emergency, public health emergency issue. Yes, that is why government had prioritized national road safety issues, and it is doing, everything possible through the National Road Safety Authority to make sure that they are able to execute. But I agree with you. Enforcement is very key. As it stands now, if you look at the major causes of road accident, if I should enumerate it, you will see that most of this, some of these causes are avoidable ones. We could have avoided all this, but I mean, you know, people trying to overtake, overspeeding, I mean, impatience of some of these drivers, and sometimes stationary or broken down vehicles, which is very important. And I want to bring this, I want us to bring this discussion on board again. How do we deal with, because a lot of people have been losing their life as a result of broken down vehicles on the ways. They just go and hit it, crash it, and they die. So at the time when we were looking at how to introduce these towing services, people did not understand. But it is time for us to come back to the drawing board and discuss this matter dispassionately and see how can we resolve. Because now we are using single lane. We have not dualized our roads like those ones we see in Europe and America. It's a long-term, let's say, project that we have to do, program that the nation have to do. How do we deal with the current situation that we have single lane on all our major roads? And you see station vehicles, broken down vehicles on the way, and the drivers drive into it, I mean, killing a lot of people. So we need to deal with that matter.
Okay. All right.
Out, sit down, discuss, national dialogue, find a way. How do you resolve that matter? If we have to get the service of towing trucks to be moving this vehicle on our road as and when they are there so that to reduce the number of accidents, we have to do it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Mr. Nyakose,
yes.
We will have plenty conversations after we all watch the documentary. So for now, I know that you would watch. You are part of the 4 p.m. Viewing, so we will all patiently watch this and have a conversation afterwards. I'm grateful. Ms. Agboja, if you're still with us, I apologize. We've had a lot of interactions in the network, but if you're still with me, maybe just some few words in wrapping up. Well, I'm afraid we lost him there, but we will continue with this conversation, God willing. The documentary crashed airs at 8 p.m. today, and it is a must watch for all of us. All of us. This is at the heart of a lot of the things that we do. We've reported on accidents. Sometimes it's unbelievable that a whole bus and buses of human beings will crash and we will lose so many lives. People are being reckless every day, and if there's anything that could speak to us, it is this documentary produced by my colleague Seth Kwame Boateng, and I will entreat that we will all make time to watch it. We will have a lot more conversations on the back of this, God willing, tomorrow. But I'm grateful to all our guests who joined us. Now, let's talk about another very important issue. And last week, we were all talking about Kasoa. I'm afraid this week, we're talking about Kasoa again. Now, 2 weeks ago, he stepped out to give money to a colleague at the busy Opekuma Junction in Kasoa, but never returned home. He died after he was shot on a Wednesday morning by 2 armed men. That is the story of 42-year-old businessman Stephen Ntim. As part of our stories highlighting the insecurity situation in Kasoa this week, Maxwell Agbaba speaks to the wife of the deceased. She wants police to do more to arrest the culprit, as she says she feels unsafe in Kasoa. After this story, Benjamin Akapo will have a conversation with Professor Kwesi Enini, who is a security analyst.
This is the spot where 42-year-old Stephen was standing when he was accosted by 2 men on a motorbike. We understand from eyewitnesses that they asked for his money, and that was followed with a gunshot. They made away and bolted with the money. But this place was buzzing with activities like these. Eyewitnesses say it was too late to pursue the robbers.
The crime scene is a busy spot at Opekuma Junction on the Kasoa Highway. Eyewitnesses tell me they were helpless because the attackers had weapons. They say they did not expect a robbery at 9 a.m. on the busy section of the road. I'm now at the residence of the deceased where family members are seated. His wife, Mamiesi Ankuma, has been narrating to me how she got to know of the killing.
I'm going to know Sanjay's kind of some hours time, Nami, I'm afraid the phone.
They shot him and bolted with his money.
I called his phone some hours later. A man answered and said his phone is at the police station. He lied to me that my husband was involved in an accident.
I don't go to hospital until the phone.
My husband does not like trouble. He's always indoors and stays away from bad company.
She's urging police to do more to arrest the culprits.
Our only hope now is the police. They should help arrest the perpetrators.
Mami Esi Ankuma says she does not feel safe in Kasoa Opekuma.
At the same time, you're safe.
We are not safe here at Kasoa Opekuma. Every day we hear issues of theft, murder and other vices. We are begging authorities to come to our aid because we are not safe here.
Especially
the deceased 42-year-old Stephen Tim was married for 6 years. He left behind a 5-year-old son. One of his tenants described him as a generous and tolerant landlord.
And he's a very good man. He don't talk. He don't have a friend. When he comes back from work, he's in his room. He don't even come out. He's a very good man. This Monday, it's very sad someone have killed him because he just left a small boy. The boy is, he's now getting to 5 years old. I went to Accra. So on my way coming home, someone told me, have you heard something? I said, what? Say, your landlord have been killed. When you go home, don't make any noise. Don't cry because they've not told her wife. I said, okay. So when I came home, I asked one of the ladies in our house, and she said it's true, but I should not make any something that her wife will know that something is going wrong. I went to her wife. I asked her, Mama, how are you? She said, I'm fine. Where is Daddy? He said Daddy has got an accident, but he's fine. He's in coma. So in the evening, we will go to the hospital. I said, okay. So around 7 to 7:30, and then they told us the man he's gone, he's dead. He's a good man. Even if you don't have money, he gives. He's a very good man. He's a very good man. I don't even know what to say.
Eric Asamoah is a friend of the deceased. We feel very unsafe here. When you are sleeping at night, you are scared. When you send your child, you are scared. He was a very quiet man. He does not like trouble. The Kasoa police says it is still investigating the matter.
Welcome back on the AM show, and we continue with our crime series like you saw with Maxwell Agbagba, bringing us more details, this time not just about the earlier incident in Amanfrom close to Kasoa, but this time of another incident where a young man has also been assaulted. In fact, 2 weeks ago, he stepped out to give money to a colleague at the busy Opekuma Junction in Kasoa, but never returned home. He died after he was shot on a Wednesday morning by 2 armed men. Now, that is the story of the 42-year-old businessman, Stephen in team. And it's part of our stories highlighting the insecurity in Kasoa this week. Maxwell Agbaba has been speaking to the wife and the deceased, and of course you saw that earlier as he had some of those interactions. So Maxwell, good morning. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you, Benjamin.
And tell me, so it's been quite a while now, over a week that you've been engaging the family of the boy, the 11-year-old who was brutally murdered. Then there is this instance of another person, this 42-year-old, whose life has also been snuffed out. What is the latest that you can share with us? What are some of the reactions from the members of their families so far that you can share with us?
Well, for many of the people I've been speaking to, they are quite concerned, especially for family members of the 10-year-old boy who was allegedly killed. They are really scared. And for this latest family that I spoke to also, they are also raising concerns about the insecurity challenges, in Kasoa, specifically, Opekuma. So for this 42-year-old man who was actually killed, when I spoke to the family, the sense that I got was that they feel, very unsafe in the community, because just some days before this shooting incident, there was actually a case where, some days after, there was a case where a woman who stays just some meters down the street was also killed, and her throat was cut, and then she was put in a sack, and the body, dumped somewhere in Kasoa, Opekuma. So this happened just some days after the man had been shot. And they told me that they've had many incidents and cases of murder, they've had many cases of theft and all of that. So really, they do not feel safe living in the community. And that's the sense that I also got from the family of the 10-year-old boy, who was killed. They raised concerns about how, a lot of people, a lot of crimes seem to be happening in their community space. And like, they mentioned to me that they actually attributing the problem to the influx of foreigners. They feel that the youth or the young people in their community are learning, are copying blindly from people who are not actually Ghanaians. And they feel that looking at how dastardly some of the acts are, some of the crimes are, they feel that Ghanaians will not be able to commit those crimes. And they feel that it's the foreigners who are staying with them are the ones who are able to, to commit that crime, because they think those crimes are
Maxwell, do share with us, pardon the interjection, but when these people suggest that there might be foreigners influencing Ghanaians to do these things, do they have any evidence? Have they spoken to you about maybe specific nationals that they are thinking of who are culpable or who are influencing the Ghanaians?
Well, they mentioned one of our West African neighbors, but it would be difficult to actually put that
yes,
out.
I understand.
But they mentioned one of our West African neighbors, and they think that they are the ones who are influencing the Ghanaian people, the young Ghanaian people, to also commit those acts. They say that looking at how merciless the acts are, they do not think that their Ghanaian brothers will be able to, to do that to them. And they say that you move around the community and you find a lot of them, around in the community. They tell me that, if you're asking for evidence, they tell me that many of them do not go to work. A lot of the time they see them in their room, like at home, not really doing anything. So what they are saying essentially is questioning their source of, income. And they think that because they do not have a job, so maybe they'll be engaged in, these crimes. So that's the concern for a lot of the people. For this Kasoa Opekuma incident, for instance, it happened at 9 a.m. So 2 weeks ago, Wednesday, around 9 a.m. in the morning. And if you've been to the Opekuma Junction, it's a very, busy stretch. It's a highway. I mean, the eastbound section of the road is a highway. You have cars flying that route like every day, and there are sellers also by the side of the road. So really, it was strange how this was able to happen. And when I spoke to the woman, the wife of the deceased, she actually told me that her husband. Okay, so her husband deals in a coat store. He operates about 5 coat store businesses. So on the day, he wanted to restock his coat store, his shops. He couldn't go out there to do it. And so we were told that a colleague of his who was going to town was actually, he contacted him and told him that, okay, I will not be able to go to town, but I want you to do this for me. And the colleague actually agreed. So he took the money and was meeting him down the streets. So he was holding the money, crossed the street, waiting for the colleague to come. Then 2 men on a motorbike, accosted him and asked for his money, shot him, and then took the money away. People who were around, people who were selling said they saw the incident play out, but they couldn't help because they were not holding weapons. Even when we went on the ground to try and understand how this could happen, the eyewitnesses who we spoke to, if you realize, we couldn't speak to any of them, none of them couldn't speak on camera, but they gave us information. They told us they can only give us information that we can use in the story. They said they are scared that if they, give us that information, the perpetrators could come back later to,
So they are afraid of some victimization. But let me ask you, especially as these people are thinking that it is not the Ghanaians who are doing these things, that it could be other people up to all of this mischief. My concern would be when they spot these happenings in their communities, do they report to the police? Do they follow up when they suspect, some of these people that we see around, we don't know what work they are doing, we don't know how they earn their money. Do they follow up to tip off the police, or they just wait till disaster strikes?
Well, some of them I spoke to told me that they've lost confidence in the police. They tell me that many times crime happened, they report, nothing good really comes out of it. So even for this case, some of the people I spoke to asked them whether they are confident in the police. They have confidence in the police to arrest the perpetrators. They told me that this happened 2 weeks ago, and as it stands right now, they've not received any updates, from the police on the situation. So they seem to be already losing hope on the matter. They seem to be already losing hope that they'll be able to arrest the perpetrators, and the perpetrators, brought to book. So really, and you speak to some people who live in the community, they feel that the policing strength is actually a problem. They feel they do not have enough policemen in their community who, will police their community. They feel that Kasoa has outgrown, the number of policemen that they have under the division now. They tell me that there are many parts of the community where when they came, it was really underdeveloped. And many parts were actually green, but now you go, it is concrete. Concrete has replaced the green. And if concrete is replacing the green, what it means is that a lot of buildings are now springing up. A lot of people are now moving to Kasoa now. So it is important for security to also be increased. They tell me that police visibility is also quite, poor in Kasoa. And they feel that is why some of these criminals are able to brazenly, commit some of these dastardly acts. So they tell me that they think that if the number of police officers are increased in Kasoa, one way or the other, they will be able to bring the situation under control. They also want the Ghana Immigration Service to also do more, because they feel that some people who come to the community really are not supposed to be there in the first place. They say that some of them could be people fleeing, crimes from other communities. They tell me that because these people sometimes have a lot of money, they are even able to afford, the rent that is charged by landlords and all of that, and they're able to pay, and they're able to reside with them, in the community. So quite a number of concerns that the people are raising. But speaking to the people, interacting with residents, the sense that I got was that many of them feel very unsafe in the area. They tell me that at night when they sleep, they have sleepless nights because they do not know where the next attack is going to come from. They tell me that when even they send their children to school, this situation, for instance, the killing of the 10-year-old boy, for instance, that's actually compounded their woes. They say when they sleep, they cannot sleep because they just feel unprotected. There's just something that is they feel is wrong, in the community that they want our security agencies to pay attention to.
Okay, so we'll be talking a bit about the security agencies, especially the police. Hopefully, we shall also be joined by a security analyst who will break down some of the issues for us, help us understand better where exactly we find ourselves and where we are to go from here. But Maxwell, so from the end of the police, we've been trying to get in touch with the Central Regional Police, PRO, to no avail, without success. But so far, what does the Central Regional Police Command, what has it been saying in respect of these developments? What has been the reaction of the police in the Central Region so far on these cases?
Well, a police officer who I spoke to earlier had issues about jurisdiction, and he thinks that some of the crimes that have been attributed to Kasoa really did not happen in Kasoa. He tells me that some of the crimes actually happened outside his jurisdiction, but because of border issues and all of that, people sometimes lump it all together and say it happened in Kasoa. He was not willing. I actually got in touch with the commander of the Kasoa division. He was not willing to speak to the issues. He says he believes in doing the field work and not necessarily coming into the media to come and talk about what is happening. So he really did not talk to me, although we requested an interview and wanted him to speak to the issues and the concerns that the people had actually raised. He redirected me to the PRO of the Central Region Police. So really, it's difficult getting information from, the Kasoa division. Is difficult squeezing information from them. But the little that we get also, we also get a sense that they are quite overwhelmed with, the communities that they would have to police. Speaking to, some people, police officers who work there, not the commander, they seem to be overwhelmed, with the work. Because, you go to the Kasoa police station daily, and it's still the people. Like, there are a lot of things happening at the same time. And my interaction with these police officers show that they are also quite overwhelmed with the work, and they will need, more logistics. They will need more personnel, and they will also need more cooperation, from the residents of Kasoa to help deal, with the current situation.
Maxwell Agbagba, thank you very much. He's my colleague, and he's been on this beat, following all these developments when it comes to crime in Kasoa and its environs. But let's go over the phone lines now and interact with Adam Bonner. He's a security analyst. Mr. Bonner, a very good morning to you, sir. Good morning, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to have you on the AM show. Now, I'm sure you followed all of these developments. First of all, the sad incident with regard to that 10, 11-year-old in Amanfrom. Then, following that, another instance with a 42-year-old who was murdered in cold blood. And we've also heard in recent times in the eastern region of some other people, two of them, very young men, who are carting off what is believed to be human bones. It appears this is becoming quite a trend. How much of a security concern do you think this is for Ghana?
Well, yes, it is a security concern for this country. And personally, I started raising these issues several years ago, calling out the Bank of Ghana, calling out the NCA, and calling out the security agencies, i.e. the National Security, and then back then the BNI, which is now NIB. But unfortunately, not much, was done. And so what we are seeing today has to do with, lack of, preparation, lack of putting in enough measures to ensure that these things never happen, because we saw them coming. We saw them coming. Some of us saw it coming. If you go and Google Adam Bonner, I would have raised this issue severally, had meetings with some of these agencies severally. But unfortunately, what we are seeing today, it can only get worse. And I say that because if you take Kasoa, for instance, you have one citizen to about 3,000, one police officer for about 3,000 citizens in Kasoa.
Right.
Kasoa and its enclave. And I have raised that the Kasoa area actually lack what I call, proper, identity. When I say if you have a community that lacks proper identification, even if you are an individual, and you don't actually know what your identity is, chances are that you are going to be overwhelmed. And so what we are seeing in Kasoa, 70% of people who live in Kasoa, they will tell you they live in Accra. Meanwhile, we all know that Kasoa is a boundary between Accra and the central region. And so Kasoa itself is in the central region. And so what has happened over the years is that when resources, the meager resources that are before the security agencies, i.e. the Ghana Police and Immigration and the Rest Fire Service, when it comes in, the one that is supposed to probably go to Kasoa remains in Accra, in between Accra and Cape Coast. In between Accra and Cape Coast, chances are that Kasoa, which is, become overpopulated with all forms of people, is going to suffer what we are seeing today.
Right.
And so mine is that until such a time that we need to look at what do you call it, a proper strategy to deal with crime rates in Kasoa. It is never going to go. Kasoa is almost like it's a region, but unfortunately, it's being treated under a certain, region, under the central region, and even under.
So you're talking of some problems of jurisdiction as well, Mr. Bona. If you can still hear me, we can see that technology is having a bit of an impact in there by way of his connection. But for him, this is a problem that has been a long time coming.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Bona.
Yeah, they should be up and doing in dealing, making proposition.
Right. So let me ask you this. Some have laid the blame at the doorstep of the media. If you can hear me, Mr. Bona, some have laid the blame at the doorstep of the media. Some have called on the NMC, the NCA to act on the matter. Others have said it is a societal failure generally. Some even have said that it is the influx of foreigners in some of these areas that is resulting in that. Where would you lay the blame? And in terms of this strategy you speak of, where should it start from?
Wow. Yes, I would blame it. I would not actually even blame it on the media. The media is not a law unto themselves. If the NCA could get up one day and close down TV stations and radio stations, then the NCA is clothed with power to shut down all these mushroom TV stations and radio stations where you really can't tell where they're even operating from. Close them down. They put out, information about how to make money and all that, and nobody is questioning. So you want to talk about the NCA when it comes to state regulation. You want to talk about the Bank of Ghana. The Bank of Ghana is the only agency in Ghana that is mandated to print money. And on that money, you will find a serial number, a unique serial number that is, unique to that particular note. But unfortunately, these people sit on TV and say, I will double your money. How are they doing that without the consent of Bank of Ghana, which is criminal? So that the Bank of Ghana, the NCA, the Ghana Police, the National Security should be up and doing. And so for me, yes, the media is complicit, but the truth is that these mushrooms are operating in kiosks and others, and nobody cares. Then when it comes to societal failure, yes, growing up, you know that if you misbehaved, you didn't need your mother or your dad around to check you. Your neighbors, your friend's mother will check you. And when your mother comes, your mother will check you in addition. Today, we don't have it. And so that is what is going on. Children are not beaten these days. So for me, it is a collective failure on all of us, our part. And I think that we need to arrest it quickly. But the NCA, Bank of Ghana, and the state security agencies should be up and doing. Now, when it comes to the security agency in terms of strategy, I have raised the beginning of this year, late last year, to say that beginning of every election year, a year after an election year, crime rate goes up. Go back and check 2017, 2018. So my expectation expectation, at least the basic expectation would have been, there should have been a reshuffle of, the top echelon of the Ghana Police Service. That is the only way you counter criminals. Once you do that, you throw them out of, what do you call it? They have to restructure them. They need to think. It gives you some amount of room to deal with, how to fight, how to deal with them. But unfortunately, for a very long time, no changes at the top, the top level of the Ghana Police, the top level of immigration, and all that. And once everything remains stagnant, you ask anyone who understands security, the only thing that will not remain stagnant when it comes to fighting crime would be crime rate. It will continue to go up. So one of the strategies, apart from buying vehicles and doing all those things, is to do reshuffle. And I keep saying that we don't have what it takes to gather intelligence in this country. Intelligence failure leads to some of these things that we are seeing today. And I've been saying it for many years. But the truth is that it looks like it might take something drastic to happen before maybe our leaders, those who are close with power, would start listening.
Right. It might take something indeed very drastic. Adam Bona, we're very grateful that you joined us this morning on this discussion. It's a continuing conversation. Adam Bona is a security analyst, and he joined us on that conversation. There's a lot more coming your way in respect of these developments as you stay with us. We'll be bringing you more on that specific discussion and the way forward as a country. But coming up next, chiefs, clan and family heads can now be held accountable for the sale of land they are entrusted with according to the new land law. Did you know there was a new one? Also, the customs that require a woman to be accompanied by a man to purchase land has been outlawed. Here are some excerpts of a conversation on the new land administration law on Newsfile last Saturday.
And unfortunately, it hasn't gotten better than it was 10 years ago. The World Bank put in a lot of money to help Ghana to fix the land administration system. It is true. But land reforms are long-term national objectives. If you want to reap the dividends of a proper land reform agenda, you should be looking towards not less than 2 decades before you can really feel that something has changed on the ground. You are not looking at anything below 15 years.
In that case, when you take our projects, Lap 1 and Lap 2, haven't you done 2 decades?
Yes, we've done Lap 1, Lap 2, and we started Lap around 2003. So we've not done 2 decades. But like I said, the dividends of the reforms would not be visible to all and sundry immediately.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you some of what has happened out of the reforms. Out of the reforms, we got a new legal regime for the institutional framework for the land sector. So in the year 2008, a new legislation, the Lands Commission Act, was enacted, passed, and assented to by the President. What the Lands Commission Act did was to bring together the previously separate and disparate institutions that manage land. So in the past, we had the Lands Commission, the Land Registry, the Land Valuation Board, the Office of Administrator of Stool Lands,
Deeds,
the Deeds Registry, the Survey Department, the Land Title Registry. All these agencies had their own legal setups. They had their own heads in terms of leadership. They had their own records. Now, with Act 767 of 2008, these agencies were brought together except the Administrator of Stool Lands and the Department of Town and Country Planning. The other 6 agencies were brought together under one umbrella
of a lands commission. And the previously existing agencies were made functional divisions of a new lands commission. So at least from 2008, one of the outcomes of LAP 1 was the creation of a new institutional structure. The objective is to also create a common depository of records, not randomly and wantonly dissipate the lands like they used to do in the past. If you are a head of family, you are the occupant of a stool, you are a chief, you are the head of a clan, you can't no longer go on business as usual, selling the land left, right, center, and pocketing the proceeds. No. In fact, for chiefs, it's even more dangerous for them now. Because you remember in the case of Hansen and Ankara, the Supreme Court said that you could not hold a chief to account, that they were not at all mentioned. Then there was another case of Jemfi and Owusu, who traveled all the way to the Supreme Court and ended up as Owusu and Ejei, in which the Supreme Court did not say clearly whether chiefs are accountable or not. They came closer to concluding that they are fully accountable. But who wants to talk the matter of chiefs? And then in 1985, PNDC Law 111 was passed. Under Section 13, from 13 all the way from 1 to 5 and 6.
Right.
The law says we should apply PNDC Law 111, which is the Head of Family Accountability Act, to this law, this act, with such modifications as necessary. So now, the law which made head of families accountable is making chiefs, tindanes, and tindanes are specifically mentioned. Tindanes, clan heads, and family heads also accountable.
All right.
So what you said they will not achieve under the Right of Information Act, they can achieve here.
Great.
Now you can ask a chief to render an account of their stewardship when it comes to land sales. When we were going through the process of putting together the drafts of this bill, we went throughout this country on stakeholder consultations. He was part of it. We went to every district in this country with recording equipment to solicit the views of Ghanaians on what should be put in a new land act. And we found out that in some communities, a woman would not have to get land all by herself. He has to go be accompanied by a man. Even if it is a 9-year-old boy, he's with a man before they will allocate. Or the land has to be allocated in the name of a man for the use of the woman. Now, with Section 11, acts which discriminate on the basis of place of origin, ethnic origin, and you see in the gender,
yes,
are all prohibited. So you no longer can tell a woman that if you don't come with a man, you cannot have land. It will be a practice contrary to Section 11, and you are in trouble.
The law says any such practice that does this on those grounds is void.
Yes.
What does that mean now?
The frafra custom which prevents a woman from owning property would already have collapsed because of Chapter 4 of the Constitution on the laws of Ghana.
Okay.
It would have collapsed on the basis of the repugnancy clause.
Okay.
That such custom would be repugnant to good conscience, natural justice, and the democratic process.
So this fortifies it.
This in 11 is coming out of Article 17 of the Constitution on non-discrimination. You remember already Article 17 prohibits discrimination. So what Section 11 has done is to take the prohibition on discrimination as enshrined in the Constitution and put it in the Land Act and say that these practices will not be countenanced.
So when it is void,
it means that the problem this questioner is raising will not arise. that Frafra custom itself is dead.
Okay.
Because of Section 11. There has always been this argument that you can take the land before going to look for money to pay for compensation.
Right.
And in most cases, the compensation never came.
Right.
And nobody has been able to do anything about this matter.
Right.
Now, under this new regime, something very significant has happened for this country.
Great.
And what is it? This is in Section 238.
Right.
Section 238 is saying proof of availability of funds is a necessary condition precedent for an acquisition. If the cash is not proven to exist, no acquisition. It means going forward, the state would be reluctant or be discouraged from going to take lands which are not needed or taking more than it needs or going to take and creating compensation issues for subsequent governments. So at least for now, we all agree that if the state needs lands, the state would make provision for compensation.
Before.
And the law says cabinet must approve and make the money available. So if you go to the Lands Commission that you want 10,000 acres for some project, the Lands Commission will look for the availability of funds. And in fact, there is a requirement that the funds should go into an escrow.
Right.
So that by the time the acquisition process is done, the funds are released and everybody is happy.
Right.
So a lot to ponder when it comes to the new land law in Ghana. Kwame Jan, an authority on that, if you can call him that, actually sharing all that information with Samson Ladi Anyanini on Newsfile. Right now, though, it's time for Showbiz right here on the AM Show. Do stay.
Good morning. You're welcome to the Showbiz segment right here on the AM Show. And that was Everlasting by Stonebwoy, one music video directed by renowned video director Yao Skyface. And in this interview, he details how he made a career out of something he's very passionate about, that's directing, and also let us in on some difficulties he encounters at work. Now, Skyface also shared a bit on what goes into creating concepts on music videos, getting the client to agree on his ideology, and surprisingly revealed that he's scared of being famous. Watch.
It just came up along the way because I'm a graphic student, so, and a visual art student as well, so I have the basics of arts and like the principles of design and stuff. So when I developed interest for video, it was easier for me to just,
How long have you been doing this?
For over, let's say, 8-9 years. Wow. Yeah, so some, around 2011. Okay. Yeah, so like 10 years now.
And this is basically like the only thing that you do?
100%. 100%. I'm into other stuffs, but then like this is like my 9 to 5. Yeah.
What goes into music video directing?
A lot. Yeah, a lot. And then I think every song's demand a different concept because based on the treatment or the lyrics of the song, you have to create something different. Yeah, so a lot goes into that.
Is it difficult? Is it difficult to like create something?
Sometimes it is, especially if the song you are dealing with is not the kind of song you are used to. It becomes like very difficult because obviously sometimes the language if you don't understand. But you still have to get a meaning. Yeah, so it's very difficult.
Yeah, but do you sometimes give stories and you have the artist saying, okay, I don't like this story, I like this, but you know that what you're giving is what's going to catch the attention of people?
Yeah, like mostly it happens because they wrote the song, so sometimes they know what they want, so you can suggest and they will reject. You just have to find a middle ground always and make it work.
Is it profitable? Do you have a lot of money?
I'm okay.
Oh no.
We are all okay by God's grace. We just want to know. Do you have a lot of...
It's cool.
So you would encourage someone to, join the business if they would like to?
I think it's not something you have to come in because of money. It's passion driven. Yeah.
Okay, so you're not basically in this because of money. It's just something that you
start with passion, and then the money comes, because we have to do a lot of sacrifice on the way, buying gears, putting all the money you make back over a period of years. It won't happen overnight. So if you are in for money, then you're going to crash maybe in the early stages when you start. Yeah. I don't see... I don't want to be famous. Yeah, I think I've not done a lot of interviews. I try to run away from the camera whenever I have the chance. It's about the passion for the job. I create. So it's not all about music videos. You understand? It's all about creating in terms of visuals, whatever we can create. So as I talk to you, we have some TV shows we are working on.
Okay, so that was your Skyface. Speaking of...
We'll need him to come and direct...
The show,
No, not the show. We will do a
So what exactly is he coming to direct?
A music video. I mean, he's a music video director.
And who will be the singers? And
you'll be the rapper, please. You'll be the rapper.
You'll be my backup dancer.
Dancing, no. You don't want me to go there. Not in dancing. But that is one of my favorite songs of the Angloga Junction.
Everlasting.
Everlasting. I can play it on repeat.
Can you sing it? Can you sing?
We go do chaka chaka baby.
You have the voice.
Well, before he messes up everything we've done this morning, we just want to run. Okay?
At least.
So that the last thing you hear should not be Ben singing.
Okay.
So bye.
Bye.